What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Pitching Ninja's Filthiest Pitches of the Day. Remember, before we get to those pitches, hit that subscribe button. Join Ninja Nation. Be a part of the biggest and best daily baseball show on YouTube. And now, without further ado, here are my Filthiest Pitches of the Day. I'm going to start with Griffin Canning, who had 9 Ks in 7 innings, giving up only 1 run. He had this fastball, changeup, and these nasty sliders. A very solid outing from Canning, and he battled David Peterson, who was also really good, with 8 strikeouts in 7 innings, giving up only 1 run on 3 hits. Peterson relied on his fastballs, including this elevated fastball to Ohtani, and I did this overlay with his curveball so you can see what Shohei was swinging at. Those pitches tunnel really well, and because that fastball came out of that same tunnel, Ohtani was basically in swing mode. Peterson also had these wicked sliders, including this back foot slider, and got a bayonet on this breaking ball. A bayonet is basically a sword, but on a bunt. He also had some filthy curveballs. Peterson's made some huge improvements. His ERA was 8.08 on June 26th. It's now down to 5.22, and his ERA over the past 2 months is below 3. And here's a look at one big change that should jump out at you. On the right is Peterson's glove position early in the season, and on the left is his glove position now. You can see that both out of the windup and the stretch, he's raised his glove position. There could be a few reasons for it. One is it kind of simplifies his mechanics. You can see when he has his glove down, he still has to bring it up. Whereas if he keeps it up, there's less movement, which theoretically means more consistency. It also could have had to do with tipping pitches. It could be that it was easier to see his grip with his hands down low. Or honestly, it also could be psychological. He just wanted to change something up and feels better with his hands higher. Either way, it's correlated into better performance, so keep doing that. Also, if you tune into Peacock before the game, we had some technical issues, so I wasn't able to give this segment on Kodai Senga's attempts to recruit Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I thought it was interesting, especially for Met fans, because this is going to be a big topic in the offseason. And basically every team should want to get Yamamoto, who is going to be posted in the offseason. So here's my segment. As everyone knows, Kodai Senga has been the Mets' ace this year, thanks in large part to his Ghost Fork, which has over a 60% whiff rate. But in the offseason, he's going to take on the role as ace recruiter, trying to recruit Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who's basically Japan's version of Pedro Martinez, and recruit him to the Mets. Yamamoto has perhaps my favorite curveball in the world. He releases it like a yo-yo, check that out. And that may or may not be his best pitch. He has a blazing fastball in the upper 90s, impeccable command, and a wicked splitter. And he's only 25 years old. He's a back-to-back Sawamura Award winner, which is Japan's version of the Cy Young Award, and a 2-time pitching Triple Crown winner in Japan. And if Senga's successful, the combination of Yamamoto and Senga could be the key to rebuilding the Mets' pitching rotation for years to come. Javier Assad had 7 Ks in 7 innings, giving up 1 run and had this painted fastball, curveball, sliders, and got a sword. He faced Bailey Falter, who had 3 Ks in 4 2/3 innings, but gave up 6 runs and had this changeup. Instead of Falter, he should change his name to Bailey Dominant and see if that changes around his luck. Ty Block had 7 Ks in 7 innings, giving up 1 run and had these fastballs and changeups. He faced Jack Flaherty, who had 3 Ks in 5 2/3 innings, giving up 3 runs and had this fastball. Michael Wacha had 5 Ks in 5 1/3 innings, giving up 4 runs and had this painted fastball and nasty changeup. And he faced Adrian Hauser, who had 2 Ks in 2 innings but gave up 4 runs and had this fastball. Trevor Williams had 5 strikeouts in 7 innings. He had this fastball. His stuff is kind of boring, but it gets it done. Tanner Houck had 4 strikeouts in 4 innings, giving up 1 run and had these wicked sliders. Yusei Kikuchi had 8 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 4 runs and had this painted fastball, these curveballs and sliders. And he faced Noah Syndergaard, who had 3 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 5 runs and had this cutter and then got released. He's been a far cry from the dominant Thor we knew, seemingly ages ago. Jordan Montgomery had 4 strikeouts in 5 1/3 innings, giving up 3 runs and had this fastball and changeups. He battled Bailey Ober, who had 4 Ks in 4 innings, giving up 5 runs and had this elevated fastball and slider. Justin Verlander had 7 strikeouts in 5 innings, giving up only 2 hits and no runs. I love this from Tigers fans, giving him a well-earned round of applause as a former Tigers legend. And he paid them back by dominating the Tigers with his fastballs, sliders, and this elevated curveball. I know it looks like a hanger, but elevated curveballs can be an effective pitch, and in the future with robo-umps, they're going to be very effective. Verlander outdueled Alex Faedo, who had 2 Ks in 4 2/3 innings, giving up 3 runs, and had this dirty slider. Slade Ciccone had 5 Ks in 5 2/3 innings, giving up 1 run on 3 hits. He had this painted fastball and awesome K-strut, and then put an end to a 14-pitch at bat, got absolutely fired up, and then gave a hat tip for the competition. He also had this wicked slider, and he battled Graham Ashcraft, who had 5 Ks in 6 2/3 innings, giving up 2 runs, and had these nasty sliders and high velo cutters. Tristan Beck had 5 Ks in 4 1/3 innings, giving up 3 runs, and had these sweepers and sliders. He faced Jared Schuster, who had 3 Ks in 4 2/3 innings, and had these changeups. This game also featured this ridiculous double play.
On the ground, Davis. Alexander. They get the out.
Seems like a play you'd see in a Savannah Bananas game.
It does look straight out of the Savannah Bananas. Carlos Rodon had 7 Ks in 4 2/3 innings, giving up 2 runs, and he looked pretty good. His fastballs were up to 98 miles an hour and got this White Castle special. He faced Zach Littell, who had 4 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 4 runs, and had this splitter and sweeper. Paul Blackburn had 6 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 4 runs, and had this curveball and nasty changeups. And he battled Mike Clevinger, who had 10 Ks in 7 innings, giving up only 1 hit, and took a no-hitter deep into the game. Clevinger relied on his fastballs as well as sliders and got this White Castle special and his changeup, and had his standard "I've got a P" windup. I was curious, so I did an overlay of his windup on 2 different pitches to see if he can repeat these mechanics. And honestly, he does pretty well. Very impressive. Alec Marsh had 9 Ks in 5 2/3 innings, giving up 3 runs, and had these fastballs, and also had the pitch of the day yesterday, this ankle-breaking slider. That's like a prime Allen Iverson ankle-breaking crossover. Absolutely filthy. And he battled Luis Castillo, who had 6 Ks in 7 innings, giving up 1 hit, and had these fastballs and sliders. Drew Rom had 6 Ks in 5 1/3 innings, giving up 3 runs, and had this fastball, including this paint dish fastball. And he faced yesterday's filthiest starting pitcher of the day, Aaron Nola. Nola was outstanding, with 9 Ks in 7 innings, giving up only 1 hit. He relied on his fastballs, including this painted fastball, as well as his filthy knuckle curves. And here's an overlay of an elevated fastball and Nola's knuckle curve. And you can see why when Nola is on, he's very, very tough on hitters. An outstanding outing by Aaron Nola. Now onto my filthiest relievers. Okay, technically this isn't a reliever, but this throw by Elly de la Cruz to get Corbin Carroll at the plate was 99.7 miles an hour. Number one, it shows how fast Corbin Carroll is, but also what a freak Elly de la Cruz is. This game is in great hands with this next generation of players. Pure electricity. Jose Alvarado had this 92-mile-an-hour filthy cutter. Gavin Stone had these nasty changeups. Aroldis Chapman had these overpowering fastballs and wicked slider. Jordan Romano had this 98-mile-an-hour paint. Emmanuel Clase had these cutters. Brian Hoeing had these filthy sliders and picked up 5 Ks in relief. Tommy Kahnle had these nasty changeups. Camilo Doval had these overpowering heaters. Justin Lawrence had these frisbee sweepers. Evan Phillips had this sick sweeper. AJ Puck had these heaters. And my filthiest reliever of the day yesterday was Andres Munoz for these overpowering fastballs and wicked slider. And don't look now, but the Mariners are in sole possession of first place. With that pitching staff, they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. And now, my Pitching Ninja moment of Zen. This is some wholesome content. It's Vargas leaving some bubblegum for a rise at second base. What a good dude. I freaking love baseball. What is up, everybody? My picks of the day today are a 3-leg parlay. I'm going to start with Chris Sale for 6 Ks or more, then take Lucas Giolito for 6 Ks or more, and top it off with Andrew Abbott for 6 Ks or more. What would your picks of the day be?